And welcome in. The black screen always gets me. I don't know when our intro is going to end, but we're alive here, folks. Week 14, the last week before the playoffs. It is finally here. We have been talking about this season. We're reaching that point where we're like, all right, I'm just ready for playoffs. Scoop past all this nonsense. Ready to get those teams in and do it. It is myself and Jeremy. Hashtag Isaac Garendo. Yes. How you doing, Jeremy?
Yeah, man. We were talking about it just before we started the show. I got some weird affection in the back of my head. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but we're going to see a doctor. Good thing is I live in a country where they don't really believe in antibiotics. So I'm just envisioning a doctor like grabbing my gland and like trying to ease some drainage down the back of my head as forcefully as possible.
Lovely.
And if that sounded gross to you, I don't know what's grosser, that image or the waiver wire this week, but at least we got one guy that maybe we can rely
on. There's stuff on the waiver wire, I will say. I've seen quite a few articles of people listing players that are like 70 and 80% rostered, and I'm like, kick rocks, my friend. What league do you think this is? Is there 5 people in your leagues? Like, come on. So we're switching it up. We're only talking about people under 50%. I'm not even going the bigger league. We're just doing on sleeper leagues, 50% or less, because we're just wasting time talking about those guys. Because as fun as the Cedric Tillmans, all those guys are of the world, they are all rostered in too far amount of leagues. And at this point in your league, if they're available, you know who's available. You know the good players. Like we need to go over that. So let's just go straight and talk about them. We'll talk about wide receivers here in a second. And that's actually a good transition to talk about Tillman because
let's do it.
His roster chip's dropping right below 50%, and we're seeing this Jameis Winston PPR scam offense just literally just feed families with this stuff. Like Njoku just went bonkers and won me. And then we see Elijah Moore doing his thing. Jerry Jeudy had the best game of all time against his former team. He put up 200 plus yards. Like this was nuts stuff. And this was a bad matchup. Denver only gives 109 pass yards a game, and James was like, I don't care. We are sliding the rock. It was like 500 yards. It was nuts. This is pure fantasy goodness, not good NFL play, but it is beautiful for fantasy football. So this is what we love to see. This is a good transition to talk about Elijah Moore and why he's the top wide receiver target, because you just saw it. Like you've seen it the entire time with Jameis Winston. They're actually just throwing it at an insanely high rate. So with Jameis Winston, since week 8, Elijah Moore has 12 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, and then 14 targets. Like this is in PPR league specifically. Elijah Moore is only on 22% of sleeper leagues. I think you need to go bid up and get Elijah Moore because he's a slot wide receiver. And by the way, his matchups are not bad against the slot. Kansas City gets torched against the slot. Cincinnati's an atrocious defense, and Pittsburgh struggles against the slot as well. So you have, I know the matchups don't seem like they're great, but the next 3 weeks, Elijah Moore can have a really, really good game just because he's a slot wide receiver and he gets the easiest matches. Outside of that, we'll talk about a few of these other guys. There's a ton of wide receivers you can get. You go Nick Westbrook-Ikine, the touchdown Chris Carter machine. He just keeps doing it and doing it.
Crazy.
At some point, I'm just going to just book him for a touchdown at this point. Brandon Cooks is interesting because he's come back from an injury. Last week, he had 7 targets. I just don't really trust that offense. The thing is, they're playing Cincinnati, so if you need some production, you go Brandon Cooks. Devon Vele is another good one, but they're on a bye, so I don't think you really want to stash Devon Vele. Like, you probably just wait, or if you want to pick him up in deep league, sure. The other guy is MVS, who's playing the Giants. If you need a boom week, you go him.
Yes.
And then it's really the Carolina Panthers wide receivers, Adam Thielen or Xavier Legette, and really just depends on how you feel about those guys. But Thielen saw 10 targets last week against Tampa Bay. It was good. It's a bad matchup against Philadelphia, so I don't really want to play either one of these guys. But you know what? They're the 2 heavily involved wide receivers on that team. So if you need production, I would go with one of those guys. For the wide receivers in general, are you going all out for Elijah Moore? Are you going for any of these other guys, or did you have someone else in mind?
Elijah Moore is interesting to me. Like you said, Pittsburgh, KC, not great. Cincy, very good. And Miami. Elijah Moore, you can start him twice, maybe 3 times over the stretch. I'm not sure if I'm relying on him in the championship game against Miami. That does not sound great. But Nick Westbrook-Ikine, I mean, we've been talking about this Titans schedule, and it starts this week. It started a few weeks ago, but this is the stretch that you always wanted. Jacksonville, Cincy, Indy, Jacksonville. That's who Tennessee is playing. That's who Nick Westbrook-Ikine is playing. Hopefully you already have Ridley. Hopefully you already have Pollard. Go get Pollard right now from a person who's not in the playoffs. However you can in your dynasty leagues, go trade for him. I sold him for Rashid Shaheed. I sold Pollard and a 4th for Rashid Shaheed, early 4th for Rashid Shaheed in the late 3rd. I mean, if you've got a guy like that who's like your 6th, 7th wide receiver and he's injured, he's got upside for a guy who's not involved. But go get Tony Pollard. He's the cheapest he's going to be for sure, and that schedule is awesome. But Nick Westbrook-Ikine, Love him. He's a great grab. I probably prioritize him over Moore, but I like both of them. And then the other guy you mentioned is Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is just still the same guy somehow. I don't know how. I don't know what deal with the devil he's made, but some of those catches have been sick. He's wide open. Bryce Young has looked phenomenal. And this team is, going to try their damnedest at the end of the season to win games and take that momentum into the next season. You know who looks great? Jonathan Brooks looks great. So really excited about the developments. Now, yes, if you need a win this week, they're playing Philly. Yikes. Dallas, great in week 15. Arizona, not good in week 16. Tampa in week 17. You can play Adam Thielen confidently in weeks 15 and 17, maybe even in week 16 if you need to. I order them NWI, Moore, and then Thielen.
Let's go, baby. Yeah, I think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is very interesting because that offense, they're going to be trailing in the majority of these games. Like the Titans just are not that good right now. So it's actually good for fantasy that you get these game scripts where you have to pass. That benefits him heavily because hurts Pollard a little bit, but Pollard's fine. Like we know what we're talking about. Like you're talking about you traded for Pollard. Yeah, I traded Pollard for Tillman in a second because I'm on a rebuilding team. So I was like, all right, let's just do this. This is the deal. Talk about same episode. Pollard's really cheap. Both ways, he's good for contender rebuilders. You can get a decent amount for him. He's not gonna really cost much anything. So you know what you're getting. Yeah, for me, this is Elijah Moore, but Parker Washington is interesting just because that wide receiver room, but it's Mac Jones. I don't really trust it. Turpin is more of a returner than anything else. He had a big play last week, so that's kind of there. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, his role is just all over the place. It's really hard to trust right now. So for me, it's clearly Elijah Moore. Is Elijah Moore clear for you as well?
Yeah, I don't think Parker Washington is probably more of an anomaly than anything else. He's a pretty good wide receiver. The thing is, there's a lot of other better wide receivers and tight ends and other receiving options, running backs on that team. So I don't think he's going to see that much more of that. And, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, who knows what's going to happen in the weeks ahead? Is Trevor going to come back? Is it going to be Mac? So I'll just go with Elijah Moore, steady production from the gunslinger Jameis Winston.
Right. Yeah. If you got Jameis Winston as your quarterback, there's going to be fantasy points for somebody on that team. I would go Elijah Moore, Parker Washington, and then I would do Turpin and Wan'Dale Robinson. Is probably how I would organize.
Same.
But yeah, you'll get Washington a hell of a lot cheaper than you probably will Moore. So just go for a really cheap rate if you can't get Elijah Moore. Yeah, so that's kind of like wide receivers. It's pretty cut and dry across the board. You know what you're going after. Obviously, if there's any one of these bigger name guys available at the 60-70%, go get them like we talk about. But at this point, it's just move it up on the next show since we got to dip and get out of here. So is what it is. But yeah, that's week 14 waiver wire targets, man. If you can't get Grendo, go get Elijah Moore. I'm just gonna say, just make that happen. Go get those guys. Enjoy the week. So this is playoff, folks. Yes, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Go get a guy that gives you production. Much easier wide receiver to find it than at running back. We all know this, right? So, yeah, that's it. Hopefully, you guys have the best of luck this week. For myself, Jeremy will be doing rankings moving forward. We'll be coming back into the fun rankings, going into that. We'll steamroll over the weekend. We'll talk about the roundtable and then start on Sunday. So, hopefully, y'all can join us there. We appreciate all the time you guys spend on this because you guys make this what it is. So, for the rest of us, fans football use, I'm gonna keep talking and we're gonna head out. So, take care, folks. Enjoy your waivers and go get your guys. See ya. Listen up.